Welcome back, everybody. In his latest devlog, Nelson has finally published a roadmap which allows us to take a look at which features are coming to Unturned 2. I am extremely excited since this is not just speculation, but officially confirmed by Nelson himself. Now, obviously I could tell you about every single feature he has listed in his Trello page, but I will simply pick the best ones and leave it at that. Because who would want to hear anything about the server browser system when we can talk about bandit NPCs or players turning into zombies? But let's go through my list one by one. The first feature I want to talk about is the Spectator Mode and replays. I'm very happy that in Unturned 2 admins will finally be able to spectate players. This was a feature that I really missed in Unturned, and it will make it a lot easier to spot cheaters and ban them from your server very quickly. Also, Nelson will implement some sort of replay system into the game. Now, just by looking at his description of the replay feature, it's not really clear to me whether only admins have access to those replay tools or all players have access to it in form of a dev cam, similar to the ones in other FPS games. It might even be a completely different replay system than we are used to, like the one in Wargame. In Wargame, every movement of each unit in the game is saved, and if you watch the replay, you can simply change camera angles and fly around the map as you wish. This would obviously be a lot more difficult to implement, but imagine being able to save a replay of a huge base raid you had and then watch the entire thing unfold from above. He also wants people to be able to upload their replays to the workshop so others can take a look at them. Next up, we are going to take a look at the Turned, as Nelson calls them. Those are dark, organic mutations and growths attached to buildings around the map, and they will probably look somewhat like this one. Some of them might even have tentacles to reach for unsuspecting players which pass along near them. They also spawn hostile NPCs, such as monsters or even mutations of players they have killed before. I think all of this sounds pretty awesome and definitely very interesting compared to the normal zombies we have in Unturned. Since almost every single popular survival game has zombies as their main NPC enemies, this could really change up the gameplay and actually make it a lot more challenging. But at the same time, this is the one big thing I'm worried about. I think all of this sounds pretty awesome and definitely very interesting compared to the normal zombies we have in Unturned. Since almost every single popular survival game has zombies as their main NPC enemies, this could really change up the gameplay and actually make it a lot more challenging. But at the same time, this is the one big thing I'm worried about. It could totally be that Nelson will make those player-eating plants just a little bit too mean, and that could get people frustrated very quickly. I am not against a difficult game by any means, but just think about the fire zombies of Unturned 1 and how most people hated them because you could only kill them when you had a gun, and nobody wanted to waste their precious ammo on a zombie. If those plants are going to be equally annoying enemies, which are hard to avoid, it can really be a problem. Talking about the Turned, let's take a look at what other NPCs Unturned will have to offer. He has both friendly and hostile NPCs in his to-do list, but sadly not a lot of details about them have been revealed. What we know so far is that friendly NPCs will, again, like in Unturned 3.0, be able to talk and give you quests and offer services, which I guess is just trading for now. And besides that, they will also follow their daily routines, and that is a really big and good change. I just like seeing a survivor village with a few NPCs scattered all around and all working on something and populating the world. Mantling is another really awesome feature coming to Unturned 2. Nelson gave us some good details about the movement system and even showed us some clips of it. You will be able to pull yourself up ledges and climb over obstacles. He also mentioned that your movement speed is based on how much you carry, which I find a very good feature, since this will give fresh spawns a big advantage over those fully kitted out players. At least they can run away if something doesn't go to their favor. And that was entirely different in Unturned 1. Often the fully geared players, they were even faster than the fresh spawns, because they already had their stamina skills leveled up all the way. He also mentioned that maybe we will be able to grab onto objects while falling, but let's just not set our hopes too high, although we know that Nelson almost always delivers even more than he announced. Another cool feature I want to talk about are excursions. They are described as being an alternative reality where the player will find himself fighting against the monsters at the beginning of the apocalypse. It will be very difficult and almost impossible to survive for a longer period of time, and you will have to get in, loot, and extract that loot afterwards very quickly. Now, to me this sounds really familiar. We have seen similar game modes in The Division with its Dark Zone, where you had to get as much gear as possible and then extract it at certain extraction points via helicopter. Also, Escape from Tarkov has a similar system with the raids. You simply choose a location and what gear you want to bring into a raid, and everything you take out of it is yours. But if you die, everything that was on your character is lost. I imagine Nelson implemented this as some sort of endgame feature, and I really like the idea of not being able to survive there forever. If you look at Unturned's current PvE, it will get quite boring and way too easy after you have a gun and decent armor. Even a mega zombie is not really a challenge anymore. But this might change with the excursions, since it will give any player a high risk, high reward endgame activity to do. Now, although Nelson didn't specify whether or not those incursions will be a sole PvE event or you can actually meet other players in there and fight them, I'm really looking forward to this. Fire in Unturned has often been requested by many people, and some modders even did their take on it by adding flamethrowers to Unturned. But we never really had a decent fire system in the game. According to Nelson, this will change in Unturned 2. Not only will we have Molotov cocktails to set our enemies on fire, if we light something up, the fire can actually spread. Now, I am not sure what limits there are for this system, but I guess you shouldn't throw a Molotov cocktail at your enemy in the forest for sure. In order to fight the fire, there will be fire extinguishers available, but I imagine that once an entire forest is set on fire, you can only wait for the rain to save all those tiny forest bases from their doom. One last, rather small but still very important change will be trading interfaces. This simply means that there will be a trading menu to exchange goods with other survivors to prevent scamming. I really hope that this trading menu will be available in safe zones, if there are any of course, since this would allow people to actually trade their loot without having to worry about getting killed or scammed all the time. Because let's be honest, how many times did you trade something like an RPG in Unturned and it did actually work and nobody got killed at the end? So that sums it up for all the details of the June devlog. If you want to take a look at it for yourself, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and until next time.